Hello everyone, my name is Joanna Daffy Tiitus and I work as National Director at SwedenBIO. And I have my background in biomedical science and I've been working in the industry, both medtech and biotech, for several years. But at SwedenBIO I am responsible for the national ecosystem, so I work a lot with our activities related to that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the barometer that we're releasing every year. But for those who don't know about SwedenBIO, I just wanted to give you a brief description of what we're doing. So we are a life science industry trade organization. And our vision is a vibrant national and a competitive international Swedish life science. So we work with and for our member companies to support them on their respective journey, but we are also working for Sweden's life science industry as a whole to strengthen that and make it more competitive in an international perspective. And we're working with three main scopes. One of those is to build networks through seminars and events and conferences. We're of course very present in Sweden, but we do also have a lot of international activities. So we're also connecting organizations throughout the Nordics and also globally. And we are working with knowledge, so we're gathering data and sharing the data with the industry, and those are the reports that we're publishing. So we have the pipeline report that is published every third year, and the barometer that I'm going to talk about today that is published every year. And then we're also working a lot with policy, so we're trying to be the ear to the ground within our members and working together with the members as well. And we're working with a broad set of questions that will also strengthen the industry and make it easier for our companies to operate here. So that's what we're doing, and you can skip that one and move right into the Life Science Barometer. And this is an annual report, and it's a snapshot of our industry. It is based on the most recent data from Vinnova and also an annual survey that is answered by Swedish life science executives. And this year, the report has been created in collaboration with Medicon Village Innovation, Sahlgrenska Science Park, Stockholm Science City Foundation and Stunds Life Science in Uppsala, and also together with our data partner, Sightline. And today I'm going to present selected pieces from the report, but you can of course find the entire report on our website. So I will first give you a brief overview, and this is based on the Vinnova data from 2023 that was released last year. And we have a quite fantastic and vibrant life science industry with over 3,800 companies. And when we look at this geographical spread, you can see that the companies are concentrated at these three major clusters in Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö, Skåne, and Lund. But we also have emerging clusters in the northern Sweden, in Umeå, and also in Linköping, which we hope to grow, of course, even more. And Swedish life science companies are quite complex. They have overlapping business segments, as you can see at this picture. But according to the 2023 data, medtech is the biggest segment with 57% of the companies. And the Swedish life science industry is employing over 53,000 people, men and women alike. And what is interesting for this year is that we see a quite drastic increase in female CEOs. So from 26% last year to 31% this year. So this means that almost 1/3 of all life science companies in Sweden are now led by a female CEO. So this is a quite drastic change in only 1 year. Over time, we see a steady growth in the sector's net sales, reaching 507 billion in 2023. And we can also see that the life science industry accounts for nearly 10% of the total export of Sweden. And this means that we have actually climbed from 3rd place to the 2nd largest export sector. And I think that's very important to note that this sector is so important for Sweden's economy and growth. So I really want to underline that. Moving into the survey and our own barometer and the state of the industry, we can see that there were executives from 203 companies answering the survey. And together these companies account for about 37% of all the employees. And in the survey responses, we can see that it's a good distribution across all the segments, but also across, like, if you look at the geography. We can see that both Southeast and the Northern Sweden they get a new chance next year to answer our survey, but otherwise we have strong representation all over Sweden. And as it is election year this year, we decided to add a new question to the survey. And that was, what key message would you like to send to policymakers in Sweden? And the answer was written in free text, and funding was the top concern still. And that was closely followed by regulatory. So according to these results, almost, I think, half of the respondents mentioned funding as a top concern. So that's still a huge problem. And we need stronger funding structures, both in the early stage and in the later stage of the company, to solve this. And as I mentioned, we are also working with Sightline, and they are our data partner, and they have provided us with some global data as well. And looking at this, we can see here, if you look at Q4 last year, we can see that there's a positive indication in biopharma financing. And Q4 last year was the strongest quarter in many years. But according to Sightline data, we don't see the same momentum in Sweden just yet. So here we really need to understand, what can we do to attract these foreign investments that are so important for our industry? So here we have some work to be done, I think. Because it is quite important. Looking at the survey data, we can see that both, if you look at the dark green and the yellow here, both angel investments and VCs are vital sources of funding for both startups and later stages companies. And also the government grants, as you can see in the light green, are still super important sources. Here you can see that 51% of the surveyed companies reporting revenue from sales, which can be a little bit misleading. So I just wanted to tell you that if we would remove all the consultancy firms from this, we would see that almost no company will report revenues from sales in many years, which is totally natural, of course, for this like R&D intensive companies. But there is a need for funding, not only in the early stages, but just to bridge this valley of death and into the successful commercialization phase. Swedish life science companies, they are operating on an international arena. And here we can see that most surveyed companies operate in global markets and that their activities are not confined by national or EU borders. A very clear example is the patents. You can see that 58% of the respondents are reporting that they hold patents on a global market, and very few only in Sweden and EU. And I just wanted to give you a little brief future outlook of what we see among the respondents here. There are quite positive vibes when we talk about increasing the workforce. Most companies plan to increase the workforce in the upcoming year, both when it comes to consultants and when it comes to hire employees. And quite few intend to decrease. Looking at what we know that we have had a quite tough time for the industry in the past year. So looking at the table to the right here, you can see what happened during 2025. And even though quite a few companies had to decrease their workforce, there were still more that actually increased, which is nice to see. And when we talk about what kind of experts they need and what kind of competence that is asked for, we can see that sales and marketing are in top, followed by R&D and leadership and business development. So in those areas, the companies will be looking for talent going forward. Yes, and just a few takeaways from my presentation here today. The life science industry is crucial to Sweden's growth. In addition to being the second largest export sector, it creates jobs, drives innovation, and develops unique expertise. Funding remains the foremost concern among life science executives, and we really need to understand how we can attract foreign investments to our companies here in Sweden. Recruitment outlook for 2026 is positive. And I didn't mention this, but in the report we also saw that AI is still the thing that leaders are most curious about when it comes to life science. So being global actors, Swedish life science companies are turning world-class research into global impact across markets worldwide. So I think we should be very proud of our industry, and I think we see some positive trends coming forward. And if you're interested in reading the entire report, you can scan the QR code or just look at it on our website. And that was everything for me. Thank you so much.